the 2027 Buick Century. When forgotten luxury demands attention, somewhere inside General Motors, there is a meeting room where a decision was made that most people did not see coming. Buick, a nameplate that had faded so completely from cultural consciousness that younger drivers barely recognize it as American, was about to receive something it has not had in decades. A reason to exist as more than a historical footnote, the 2027 Buick Century is the answer to a question nobody thought to ask. What would happen if Buick stopped apologizing for its past and started defining its future? At the Reverend Culture, where we look past the marketing narratives and into what vehicles actually mean to the people who engineer them, and the people brave enough to buy them, we find ourselves standing in front of something that demands a complete recalibration of expectations. This is not a concept car waiting for a reality that may never arrive. This is a production vehicle, officially revealed, engineered with genuine intent, and built to compete in a space where American luxury brands have largely stopped showing up. Before we walk through every dimension of this car, there is one decision buried in this powertrain that explains everything about Buick's philosophy moving forward. A choice so deliberately unconventional that it tells you precisely what the engineers valued more than anything else. We will reach that moment. But first, understand what you are looking at. The color is a vivid crimson red, not the burgundy that whispers, not the scarlet that performs, but something that actively demands attention from every angle. In full light, it reads as purposeful and commanding. In shadow, it deepens to something approaching oxblood, a tone that carries weight and history. The body itself has been designed around a principle that modern Buick apparently believes defines American luxury: proportion over decoration. The hood is long, genuinely long, with a subtle but definitive power dome that sits centered and proud. A single horizontal line traces from the front fascia rearward, gathering visual tension toward the rear haunches before dissolving into a diffuser that promises substance beneath the surface. The front face is commanding without aggression. A vertical grille opening, distinctly Buick in its heritage execution, carries a modern reinterpretation of the Tri-Shield badge centered at its apex. The LED headlight signatures are precise and sharp, their geometry cutting horizontal lines across the fenders in a pattern that communicates alertness without screaming. Black carbon fiber canards emerge from the lower corners of the front bumper, functional elements positioned specifically to manage airflow at the speeds this car can achieve. The profile tells the actual story. A fastback roofline that begins high behind the windscreen and flows in one unbroken arc toward the rear, pressed low and tight against the side windows. The shoulder line runs from the front quarter panel with purpose, gathering energy before erupting into a widened rear haunch that fills the fender opening completely. 22-inch forged wheels in a split-spoke design, finished in a polished silver with black accents, sit perfectly within those wheel arches. Behind each spoke, red-painted Brembo calipers grip large cross-drilled rotors. The side sills carry the Buick nameplate in modern script. The rear fascia is where the car's intentions become unmistakable. A full-width LED light bar connects corner to corner in a single integrated element. Beneath it, a deep carbon fiber diffuser with active blade elements frames 4 round exhaust outlets, arranged in a twin-pair configuration at each outer edge. Nothing about this car apologizes for wanting to be taken seriously. Pull the door handle, and the door opens with weighted precision. That specific mechanical gesture that tells you immediately that the structure around you has been engineered to contain something with genuine power. Step inside and the environment wraps around you with an intentionality that luxury has nothing to do with. The seat is deeply bolstered sport leather in rich red, separated from black carbon accents by contrast stitching that matches the exterior treatment. The bolsters grip at the hip and shoulder with a firmness that signals this is not a car that wants you to relax. It wants you to pay attention. The headrest carries an embossed Buick emblem. The dashboard sweeps wide in a modern interpretation of classic Buick proportions, curved and broad, surfaced entirely in materials that feel purposeful rather than merely premium. A landscape format touchscreen dominates the center stack, flanked by physical control elements that you can operate without looking away from the road. The steering wheel is thick-rimmed and wrapped in perforated leather with carbon fiber inserts at the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock positions. The Buick Tri-Shield sits centered at the hub. In your hands at rest, it already communicates something about the car's personality. The ambient lighting throughout the cockpit glows at a low crimson level that matches the leather, intensifying subtly when you transition into sport and track modes. The scent at this moment is that specific combination of new leather, fresh carbon fiber, and something faintly mechanical that a performance car's interior never quite loses. The acoustic insulation is serious. Close the door and the outside world reduces to near silence. This is not luxury car silence in the traditional sense where everything is absorbed. This is performance car silence where external noise is managed with deliberate engineering intention. Real silence. The kind that allows the engine to speak when it has something to say. Now, the powertrain decision. Buick's engineers specified a supercharged 5.5-liter V8, a displacement and induction choice that represents a philosophical commitment to character over peak horsepower. Internally projected at approximately 900 horsepower and 810 pound-feet of torque. This is the controversial element. In an era where turbocharged engines dominate the performance landscape, where efficiency codes and emissions regulations have made supercharging nearly extinct at this power level, Buick's engineering team chose to embrace a system that delivers instantaneous throttle response over the spool-up behavior of turbocharging. The supercharger whine that builds with acceleration is not an incidental byproduct. It is the actual point. At full throttle, the mechanical urgency of that whine layered beneath the bass V8 tone creates an acoustic signature that feels more exotic than anything you would expect from an American brand rediscovering performance. Some engineers within the program reportedly pushed for twin-turbocharged efficiency. Buick chose the supercharger specifically because it creates a driving experience with more personality, more immediacy, more truth about what is happening beneath the hood. Start the engine, and the supercharged V8 catches with a sharp, controlled bark that settles into a muscular idle. The engine breathes with a confidence that does not demand attention but refuses to be ignored. Rev it gently, and the mechanical character emerges immediately. The supercharger loading adds a high-frequency urgency beneath the primary V8 note. There is no lag, no waiting, just instantaneous response. At partial throttle in normal driving, the sound is a deep, structured V8 roar, full and rounded at its foundation. At 4,000 RPM and above, when the supercharger reaches full boost pressure, the sound changes character entirely. Sharper, more aggressive, the exhaust bark climbing a register as the additional airflow multiplies the power flowing through the engine. The 8-speed dual-clutch transmission snaps upward under hard acceleration, with the precision of a mechanical instrument. Each shift is a distinct crack, the revs dropping sharply before reloading with the same urgency. In full acceleration at 6,000 RPM, the sound is a continuous layered wall of V8 noise, deep at its foundation, urgent at its edges. The cabin acoustic tuning allows this sound in at a carefully calibrated level, present enough to be impossible to ignore, controlled enough to remain livable when you simply want to drive. From behind the wheel in motion, the Century makes its character unmistakable. The steering is direct and weighted, responsive without nervousness, communicating genuine road texture through the rim without requiring muscular effort at parking speeds. Turn-in is immediate. The suspension, a fully adaptive system with real-time damping calibration, keeps the body flat through corners without feeling harsh over imperfect pavement. The brakes are powerful and progressive, large Brembo units that respond with consistency and confidence. Throttle application below 4,000 RPM is linear and manageable, something you can use fully in traffic without incident. Above that threshold, when the supercharger reaches full boost, the power delivery demands genuine respect. This car will pursue a line with conviction. The rear tires hook with authority through a limited slip differential that manages traction with intelligence, but in wet conditions or on cold rubber, the 900 horsepower to the rear wheels is not something to treat casually. This car belongs on a long coastal highway at dusk. The ocean air cooling the evening, the road rising and falling through corners that the Century handles with practiced ease. That is where this car feels spiritually correct. Wide open, urgent, fully alive, where the supercharger's whine becomes part of the atmosphere itself. Estimated pricing is expected to approach $98,000, depending on specification. For that, you are not simply purchasing a performance car. You are purchasing Buick's statement that American luxury can mean something again. That heritage brands have permission to be aggressive. That sophistication does not require apology. The value lives not in the specification sheet, but in the feeling of recognizing a moment where something old chooses to become something new. The Century occupies a position with almost no true direct competitor. It is too focused and too American to be compared against European grand tourers. It is too sophisticated to be lumped with domestic muscle cars. It is a segment of one, a modern luxury performance statement from a brand people had written off as irrelevant. The person this car was built for has watched luxury automotive culture shift away from American brands for 2 decades and never quite accepted that as final. They are someone who appreciates engineering that takes a position. They believe that a car should have a point of view. They are patient enough to understand the supercharger's logic and confident enough to respect the throttle's consequences. They see the Century not as a return to something, but as an arrival into something Buick has finally become permission to be, the one honest limitation. This is not a car for people who prioritize maximum comfort over driving engagement. Long distances demand attention. High-speed turns demand skill. This car will not forgive distraction, and it should not. That is not a flaw. That is precision. Before we close, the question this car genuinely raises is worth putting to this community. Buick spent decades positioning itself as accessible luxury. Now it is asking permission to be aggressive and high performance. Is this the right strategic direction for a brand that has lost cultural relevance? Or does abandoning the accessibility angle to chase enthusiast credibility guarantee that Buick remains forever a footnote in automotive history? Both arguments are worth making. Drop your position below, and if conversations like this one are why you are here, make sure you are subscribed, because we have only just started exploring what 2027 has to offer. The 2027 Buick Century is not a car built for everyone. It is a car built for people who refuse to believe that Buick's story was already written.